Jay, it's good to see you again, man. You're in the biggest movie of 2022. Now you're playing Jesus. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you, man. Thank you. As you should be proud of the Father, the Son of God, actually. That's how it should go, I guess. No,
I was excited when I heard you were in this, but then when I heard you were Jesus, I was like, that's perfect.
It was pretty wild to get the call from Nick and Ike to come play Jesus. It was wild to hear them go, "We think you're perfect for Jesus," and me go, "I don't know if I'm the guy. I don't know if I'm your Jesus." But it was absolutely fun, and I got to like work with Zazie, who played Mary in skits, and like that was amazing. It was just such an amazing group of folks to get to play with.
Yeah, no, I just saw everything yesterday, and I love these sketches. It's so I've been telling my friends that that also are Mel Brooks fans. I'm like, you guys are gonna love this. It's fantastic because it's crazy to think that he hasn't come out with a movie in like 25 years or something, and you don't really think about it. So actually, first question for everybody is, what is your absolute favorite Mel Brooks film?
I guess for me, it's Blazing Saddles. That's what I grew up watching it as a kid, and I remember the first time seeing it kind of having my mind blown. And yeah, I think growing up, that's the one I really enjoyed.
It's like picking your favorite child. Each one of them is so significant and has such an important part of my like upbringing and why I'm here today. But I think Young Frankenstein for me is sort of that movie that transcends even comedy and is like as good as a genre film as the movies that it's sending up. It's just one of those films that I'll go back and just watch in awe again and again.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Blazing Saddles, too. I remember the first time I watched it was with my dad. And I think I was like 7 or 8 years old. And I just remember this feeling of like, I should not be watching this right now. But at the same time, like the joy that my dad had watching it just made me lean in so much. And so, yeah, I'm going to go with Blazing Saddles, too.
There's no wrong answer. So those are all great answers. I love those answers. For me, I mean, it's even like Robin Hood Men in Tights was the first one that I watched, and then going back to watch everything else, I kind of fall in line with like Young Frankenstein. But I mean, they're all amazing. Just so nobody can be accused of being biased, what was your favorite sketch in the series that you weren't involved in?
I haven't had a chance to see anything, so.
Oh, I was just teeing you guys up to compliment each other. You were supposed to say Shakespeare.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'll say on concept, I felt like on concept, there were a few that I heard that were just absolutely amazing, though. Like Wanda as Shirley Chisholm just sounds like. How has this not been thought of already? How are we just now doing this? It sounds amazing.
No, I'm excited for you guys to watch it now because knowing that you haven't watched all the sketches yet, you're in for a treat. They're so good. Now, obviously, Jesus and Mary were influenced a lot by John Lennon and Yoko Ono. But Josh, I'm curious who most influenced your Shakespeare.
It was definitely Jay and Zazie. I felt compelled to study their work before I took on such an icon of literature. Yeah. So you're welcome, guys. My Shakespeare was sort of based on some writers that I have known because the whole concept of it was just, it's Shakespeare in a like modern day writer's room sort of thing. So there are some people, I won't mention names, who I sort of base it on that have, let's call it a flair for theatrics as showrunners. So I sort of base it on that.
I didn't think I would get any names, but I knew. I was like, there's real people based on this Shakespeare.
I'm so curious to see this. I will say, seeing Jack Black sing in the trailer, I got a little emotional. I was like, Jack.
Oh, and he kills it too. The full thing, when you see it, the full song, he just kills it. I loved it. Now, Zazie, I'm with ComicBook.com. I apologize in advance, but it's written in my contract. I have to ask a comic book question, or they might fire me. So I'm sorry. And just feel free to plead the fifth on anything. But I just got to say, we know that Deadpool 3 starts filming in London this spring. So what are the odds that say April or May you might be venturing across the pond?
Unfortunately, I plead the fifth. I'm sorry. At least you asked. Now you won't get fired.
That's all I needed. I just needed the plausible deniability and just say I did my job.
And job security.
No, but I am excited, and I'm hopeful the domino comes back. I really am excited for that. Guys, I know you have a ton of people to talk to today. I don't want to take up any more of your time, but I love the series. I love your sketches. So thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Later, Chris.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Hey, Chris.
What's going on, guys? First off, I just want to say the show's fucking awesome. I loved it. I thought it was amazing. So I was very excited for it, and you guys nailed it. First question, Nick, when you do the Cossack dance, I just want to ask how you keep your knees so spry.
You know, I have had 5 different knee replacements on each one. So it's 10 knee surgeries in total. I got the Bionic knees from the Bionic Man. I bought them at an auction. The Bionic Man TV show, I bought those knees. I had Ike do the surgeries. He watched a YouTube video and he was able to nail it. And honestly, I've been doing some version of that dance genuinely since I was a little kid watching people. And it was not planned, right? It was sort of, it came out of nowhere on the day. And I remember doing it the first time and Ike sort of giving me this shocked look after we did it and was like, and then it was like, there was this fear of like, you know, when you do a stunt, like sometimes you do stunts and things and everyone's like, that's good. We don't need to do that again. Everyone's like, maybe you shouldn't do that again. Like, I feel like people were worried I was going to like dislocate my kneecaps. Which
we're older now, Chris. We're old men.
No, I'm the same age as you guys. So I felt that when you dropped down, I was like, oh, that's impressive.
Very impressive.
I don't have a lot of junket opportunities where I can talk about this, but I just want to ask, like, you know, full disclosure, like, what's your favorite Mel Brooks film?
Well, for me, look, History of the World was definitely the one I probably watched the most growing up. So I would either say that, but I was a big Blazing Saddles guy. And I think throughout the show, we were able to kind of take moments, big and small, and try to make you feel, the viewer feel like they are in the extended Mel Brooks universe, the MBU. And, you know, when we first started breaking the Civil War story, I kind of knew that, okay, this will give us some Blazing Saddles vibes. And we try to pepper in a couple of those moments throughout that story. So I at the end of the day, it's either History of the World Part 1 or Blazing Saddles, and I got to do a little bit of both in this one. So, again, similarly, I mean, there's the four or five of his movies that were majorly important to me, including History of the World. But The Producers became my favorite movie at a certain age and was for like the majority of my life. And again, you find throughout the show, if you watch it, there are all of us growing up with Mel, those movies were so important to us. We were able to even, with some of them were pre-written, like Ike was mentioning, like Blazing Saddles, like the town where Ike visits, the Western town is called Rock Ridge, but in the moment, like we're shooting this moment in my scenes with Pam Adlon and the Russian Revolution. And I'm like, oh, this is like the moment in The Producers where Leo Bloom is on the floor and he's worried that Max Bialystok's going to jump on him. And we just, in the moment, we're able to recreate it. Finding those little organic moments were really fun and exciting and so fun for not only us, but for so many of the actors who were coming in for a day or two to find their own moments to sort of tip the hat to another Mel Brooks project.
Now, I was curious, were there any time periods or historical figures that you guys wanted to cover that didn't make the cut for whatever reason?
So many. There were so many. We wrote so much stuff, and then we found out that there's a finite amount of time and money to shoot all this stuff. I mean, you know, we had a very funny bit about Sparta, ancient Sparta, that we thought would be good. We wanted to explore Cuba. There were so many things that we had to kind of wait until the next one of these, which will be, I'm happy to announce, 42 years from today. We want to be true to the movie and make sure that there's 84 years from first movie to the second season of the show.
I can't wait to check it out when I'm 63. Ike, I want to say, just real quick before I go, I absolutely love Blockers. It's one of my favorite comedies in recent years. I mean, I think it's fantastic. Is there any chance that you guys will ever jump in and maybe do a sequel for that one?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was just texting with John Cena yesterday, and those kids,
drop. Very cool.
High school kids got to go to college,
And then some kids go to graduate school. So
or those kids have their own kids. Like History of the World Part 3 is 42 years from now. Blockers is another 18, 19 years from now. And that's when you do
like
this.
Take your
It's for your grandkids.
Bring your grandparents to school day. And then we all go off on a horny adventure. But we're older, so we have to take our Lipitor and naps and stuff. But I don't know. It sounds kind of fun.
I think it sounds great. Guys, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me. I really appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Thank you.
Appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much.
I can't use the word Lipitard anymore. It's not okay.
Lipitor.
Okay.
It's a different Debo Day. Okay.
All right. Hi. First off, I just want to say I just watched the series yesterday, and it's amazing. I loved it so much. I thought it was fantastic. You guys did such a good job of like capturing, I feel like, the comedic essence of History of the World. So hats off to you, first and foremost. Let's start off with an easy one, or maybe it's not an easy one. I don't know. But what's your absolute favorite Mel Brooks film?
I mean, I'll go first, which is just Robin Hood Men in Tights for me was like, I remember seeing that as a kid and like realizing that comedy was like the greatest thing. Since then, you know, I think my tastes have evolved. I'm currently a Spaceballs gal. Like that's the one I always am turning on. But.
Spaceballs is so good. I gotta go with Blazing Saddles, but I saw Spaceballs when I was a kid. I remember, like, I think it was my first Mel Brooks movie in the theaters, and like going after Little League baseball with a bunch of friends, and just like, you know, oh my God, he made fun of Star Wars. Like, how do you, like, because Star Wars was like, you know, holy. But Blazing Saddles is number one for me.
Those are, I mean, there's no wrong choices, right? I mean, I'm sort of the same as you, Alice, is that I watched, like when I was growing up, I watched Robin Hood Men in Tights first. So I think nostalgically, that's my favorite just because that's the first one I was introduced to. But I also feel like going back and rewatching everything else, I really love Young Frankenstein. Like that's one that I sort of just find myself rewatching more than anything else. Now, History of the World Part 1 was never intended to have a sequel, but how much convincing did it take to get Mel Brooks on board for this?
You know, I really, you know, I think Nick had been in contact with Mel for a few years, and I don't know why. I really don't know why Mel finally agreed to do it. When we first Zoomed with him, when Ike and I first Zoomed with him, and when Nick had asked us to join the show, Mel told us he was only doing it for the healthcare. So while I don't think that's true, it really, you know, gave me a lot of hope that, you know, we were still just going to make a funny show because Mel was still Mel. A funny story that Nick told me once is he was walking into a party years ago as Mel was walking out. And he was like, Mr. Brooks, I have an idea to remake The Producers. And without missing a beat, Mel just turns over his shoulder and goes, get your own material. So I don't know why he decided to do part 2, but maybe it was just the healthcare.
No, when I first heard that this came out, I was kind of like, why are they making it a series? But then after watching it, I was sort of like, well, this is actually perfect for a series just based on how the original movie went. And it's just broken up into these little sketches. So I'm actually very excited that you guys did that. Now, several of the sketches are like broken up as far as like Shirley and Civil War and Jesus, to name a few, like they're kind of broken up throughout the series. What was the decision behind splitting them up rather than keeping them intact?
Well, Alice, you were there when we first, I think, tried laying it out, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was always an ongoing conversation, you know, what made sense structurally. It's always a conversation in sketch shows. I mean, always like, and I think there's just a lot of considerations for what went in, you know, just from a storytelling point of view to keep people moving through the series. And then I think there's just some logistical considerations too, but, you know, I think it all worked out well.
Yeah, I think once we laid out we put them all together, and I think we're like, you know what, we kind of miss seeing other people, like, you know, for 20, 25 minutes. But we found a way, I think, to like have the audience still remember what was happening in the bigger stories while being able to space them apart.
No, personally speaking, I mean, not that it matters what I think, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was much more digestible being in those smaller chunks as well, especially today with everybody having, you know, ADHD and whatnot. Now, if all goes well and people love part 2 as much as I did, are there plans in place to move forward with a part 3?
I mean, I hope so. I think I'd be lucky to get to work on it again. I hope Hulu, however they decide, whether it's, the numbers or whatever, I hope it does well and they want to do it again. But it's a possibility, but we've not been told anything yet.
Gotcha.
They want to see if it's they want to make sure it's not like the least successful sketch show of all time.
Yeah.
No, I think it was fantastic. Guys, I want to thank you for taking the time to talk with me. I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait to tell everybody how much I enjoyed it. Thank you very much, and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Chris. That's really nice.